Good morning. Welcome and thank you for joining us for the Chamber to Community Back to Business NWA series. For those of you joining us for the first time, I'm Karen Wagaman, Vice President for Downtown Development with the Rogers Lowell Area Chamber of Commerce. And this virtual series was created as a response to businesses seeking tools and tactics to help navigate through the COVID-19 pandemic. And this session is being recorded and it will be added to our C2C playlist on the Chamber's YouTube channel. I will send everyone who's registered a link once we have it uploaded, so you may watch it again or share it with your friends and associates. And I would like to thank our community builder sponsors who are making this free series possible. Cox Communications, Black Hills Energy, and of course, our host for this particular series, Business Builder Leadership Coaching. Now I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Tim Snell. Tim is president of Business Builder Leadership Coaching, a company focused on helping small business owners achieve financial, organizational, and personal success. Tim is a certified small business coach and an entrepreneur at heart. He started four organizations, including two businesses, a nonprofit, and a non-denominational church. With more than 30 years of executive leadership experience in both business and nonprofit, Tim has worked with hundreds of leaders, teams, and individuals from every walk of life. Today, Tim's helping us understand how to find ways to position your business for growth, both now and during the challenges of a pandemic, and also in the future. You are welcome to write comments in the comment box, or we can open up the mics for discussion at the end of Tim's presentation. So now I'll turn this over to Tim Snell as he helps us turn an obstacle into an opportunity and presents part 2 of this 3-part series, Come Out Stronger with a Focused and Motivated Team. So Tim, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. One of the things I really love is just, I love business and organizational development. And so this series has kind of been fun for me to put together and to share. And I hope that you're getting blessed by it as we go through it. Last week, one of the things we talked about was just coming out of COVID stronger, that we always have a choice to make. Let me see if I can advance my slide here. There we go. All right. We always have a choice to make. And that choice is whether we're going to view things as an obstacle or as an opportunity. And I think one of the opportunities that we have during COVID is to begin to think strategically about our business instead of just tactically. And kind of this graphic is a good illustration of that. A lot of times what we do is we spend our time trying to bail the water in our business when things aren't going well or not working right. And it's really more beneficial to think about plugging the holes, because as we do that, we really begin to take a longer term approach. And so today we're going to talk about one of the strategic things that we can do in our business that's going to really give us those long-term results. And that is using the time during COVID to put in place the things that are really going to give us a motivated and focused team as we go forward. I do want to take just a moment here. You're going to notice on this graphic a systems business coach copyright and logo. I'm a certified systems business coach. I'm licensed to use their material. And I do want to thank them for letting me use some of the slides in the slide deck. And in fact, you're going to see on the next slide here, the game board is a game board that I use in my coaching. It's a systems business coach tool, and kind of a fun thing that when we use this online, all of these game pieces become clickable links. But really what this is, it's a picture of our how we develop a healthy business. And you can see in here that there's 5 basic areas. There's operations, finance, team, marketing, and then in the middle is a leadership. And in each of the outside areas, there's 10 different game pieces, and in the middle there's 12. And kind of the fun thing is when we're working one-on-one with people, these all are clickable links online. We have a portal and we take them in. So these are all clickable links, but I just want to use this today because it's a great representation for us of how to develop a healthy business. And we're going to take this idea of developing a motivated team, and we're going to just take 5 of these areas and talk about them today. The first area we're going to talk about is getting organized. If we're going to have a motivated team, it begins with organization. We're also going to look at how to maximize our communication throughout our organization. We're going to talk about the chance we have during COVID to make some decisions about delegating things to our team and what that does for our team. We're going to talk about developing a winning culture. And then we're going to talk about learning how to lead from a coaching position rather than just kind of from a boss perspective. I do want to say that most of what we're going to talk about today is going to apply to obviously businesses that have employees. But if you don't have employees, I still think you're going to get a lot of benefit today because the things we are going to talk about really set you up for success on a number of different levels, including the fact that someday you might have employees. So I want to encourage you to stick around for the webinar here. So we'll begin with the tile here that says organize. A lack of organization is a huge demotivator for a team because what it indicates is a lack of understanding and vision on our part as a leader of a business. And so COVID is a tremendous opportunity for us to develop and put in place a really great organizational framework that's going to empower our team as we move ahead. Specifically, when we talk about organization, what I want to focus on today is something very simple, and that is developing a basic organization chart. This is something a lot of businesses have never done. And obviously, it's not a difficult thing to do. And you might be sitting there going, well, I'm just a solopreneur. When I talk about developing an organization chart and why this is important, a distinction I want to make is I want to encourage you to develop an organization chart, not of what your business is today, but what you want your business to look like when it's fully developed and fully mature. And there are 3 benefits when we do that. The first is when you develop that picture of your organization, not as it is today, but of what it will look like when it's mature, it's going to help you clarify your vision and you're going to be able to lead more effectively. Second, it's going to help you clarify the roles and responsibilities that are vital for your team. Most teams are actually not built around organizational roles and responsibilities, sadly. What they're built around is personalities and politics. And that obviously, when that takes root in a business, that's a huge demotivator for a team. And so developing that organizational framework sets you up to transition out of that politic environment and out of the personality environment and really into a roles and responsibilities environment. So it's really important that way. And then third, it lays out a roadmap for the growth and development of your vision for your company. In his book, The E-Myth Revisited, Michael Gerber said this. He said, the organizational development reflected in an organization chart can have a more profound impact on a small company than any other single business development step. So on one hand, this doesn't seem like a big deal. It's certainly not a sexy step. And you may not think, wow, this is going to really help me right now, but it will set you up for growth long-term. And again, that's that strategic thinking. It's plugging the holes in your boat versus just bailing water. It's setting your business up to grow and be successful in the long term. So I want to encourage you to take the time to develop that chart. There are 3 steps you're going to want to take in doing this. And the first one is one we've talked about here is draw that organization chart for your business as it looks like when it's fully developed, not where you are today. Stretch your thinking and really begin to envision what does your business look like 5 years and 10 years down the road. Second, as you do that, clarify all the roles and responsibilities for each of those positions. So eventually, for example, you might have a director of marketing. Well, their job is going to be to find new business, new customers for your business. And you'll want to note as you clarify some of just the basic roles and responsibilities, it doesn't have to be in detail, who that person would eventually report to and what that looks like. It might be they'll report to you as an owner. It might be that they'll report to another person in your organization, but clarify that kind of on the front end. And then the third step you're going to want to do is once you've got that mature vision, is you're going to want to say, okay, well, I'm not there today. So take those roles and responsibilities and then fit them into where you are currently. And obviously, you're not going to do everything you're going to do when you're a mature business, but what you can do are the most important things. And here's where I want to bring all this together. Currently, you may just have one person or two people in your business who are going to do the things that are the responsibility of several people when your business is fully developed. But in laying out this organization chart, along with the roles and responsibilities, what you have done is you've clarified what has to happen for your business to succeed. And you've clarified what roles and responsibilities are pivotal to your company's success. And so when you look at that and you go, okay, we need to, make sure our marketing is on task. Well, who's going to do that? Or if it's just you as a solopreneur, how much time are you going to commit to doing that? And it just helps to begin to clarify some of the roles and responsibilities in your organization. It also sets you up for success as you go forward in terms of communicating and motivating your team. You can't do that if you don't know what their roles and responsibilities are. So this step here will set us up for all for the success of all the other steps that we'll look at this morning. The second thing that I want to talk to you then about is delegating. COVID's a tremendous time for us to take things and get them off our plate as small business owners so that we're not just working in our business, but we're actually leading our business and we're growing our business and we're motivating our team. Many business owners get stuck spending all their time working in their business, and it's a trap that keeps their business from really being successful. And when they get stuck in that trap, what happens is they don't lead their business. They don't take time to work on their business. And if you're not leading your business, the team that you're working with is going to end up being demotivated. So delegating ultimately motivates your team because you'll become the leader of your company. On top of the fact that it's going to take some things off your plate, which we all like. This graphic actually represents a business owner I know of who they clean their bathroom every day in their business after all their employees left. And they were asked, why do you do that? And they said, well, nobody else wants to do it. And if they do it, they don't do it as well as I would like it to be done. Well, what that represents is a business owner who hadn't taken the time to lead his team. He hadn't empowered them and explained to them what they needed to do and really given them ownership of that. And so the question that has to be asked is, what is it costing that business owner in terms of leadership and in terms of developing their business when he doesn't empower his team, when all he does is do the work himself that maybe other people are balking at? In delegating, I think there are two key questions we have to ask. First, we have to kind of make a list of our tasks that have to be done in our business. And we have to ask, is this a task someone else could do? Or is it a high-level task that I must do? In other words, we need to differentiate between what is a task that a leader needs to do and what is a task an employee can do. Then secondly, we need to ask, if I didn't do this task, what could I do as a leader that would propel my business forward and that would propel my team forward? If you're going to motivate your team, you've got to lead, and leadership means that you've got to delegate responsibilities off of your plate so that you can function as that leader in your business. And I think we probably all know of business owners who just think it's easier to do the job themselves, but really that is a sign that they're not leading, doing the job they need to do as a leader. And so when you delegate, that's a key leadership responsibility. It's a way you can empower your team. When you fail to delegate, that's a really, actually, in the end, it's going to demotivate your team, because you're not going to allow your team to reach their full potential. And ultimately, it's going to hurt your business, because you as a leader can be spending time doing things that are going to make you 2 to 3 times the amount of money that you'll make by actually doing the work in your business. So delegation is a hugely important piece in empowering your team and motivating your team, and helping them move forward. Third, then, I want to talk today just about communication. Communication is a huge area in motivating our team and getting them focused. And perhaps of all the things we talk about today, this will actually be one of the most important things. The reason communication is critical in motivating our team is threefold. Number one, it fosters ownership of your business, and it fosters ownership of your goals, and it heightens the employee engagement. Second, studies show that it improves productivity on your team. If you have clarity from organizing your team and clarifying those roles, what that lets you do is it lets you communicate the expectations that you have to your team. And that's going to translate into your team doing the things that need to be done in your business. So it's going to improve your productivity. And then third, good communication inspires innovation and great service that's going to benefit your customers. Nothing motivates a team like good communication. And quite frankly, nothing is going to demotivate your team more than when they feel like they're in the dark on everything. And so how do we foster that good communication in our business? I think there are 4 simple tools or strategies that small business owners can look at to move the communication forward for their team. The first is it's really critical that you have unified technology in your business. In other words, if you use a CRM system, get everybody in your business to use the CRM system. Don't have some people who are not bought into whatever you're using. If you're using the Google Office suite, use the Google Office suite. If you're using Slack to run your business, get everyone on that. Because when you don't have unified technology, what happens is you have communication silos that happen, because some people aren't in the loop, and you're going to leave your customers left in a lurch way too often because somebody's going to be dropping the ball. So really important in empowering your team is get everybody committed to and using the technology that you've chosen for your business, especially the communication technology. The second is have a daily huddle. Daily huddle is a simple 10-minute meeting you have in the morning with your team to basically say, hey, we want to celebrate the wins that we had yesterday. You can celebrate the people if someone has a birthday as well. Make those people feel important. But then talk about your daily plan for the day. Ask each person in the huddle what their plan is for the day. Take a moment to raise any issues or potential problems that are going to come up. And then encourage your people to go out and get the thing done, and let them know that you're going to be there for them throughout that day. That daily huddle is just a super simple way, a simple investment that you make that provides opportunity for good communication. So it's a simple tool or strategy that you can use in your business. Then third is to have the weekly or quarterly meetings. The daily huddle is just kind of in one sense, that's the tactical communication. It's what's immediately in front of you. Your weekly and quarterly meetings are those meetings where you step back a little bit and involve your team in more strategic thinking. Um, and depending on the size of your small business, you might have a couple of different levels of meetings. You might have a leadership meeting, and then you might have an all team meeting. And so that'll break out differently according to your business. But those two types of meetings have different functions. And so the weekly, quarterly meeting has one function, the daily huddle has another function, but they both are tools that facilitate that good communication. And then last, it's just important to have an open door policy for your employees and let them know that communication isn't consigned to a meeting. They need to know that they can come to you at any time. There needs to be trust. They need to know you care for them. And so this fourth thing is really kind of the underlying thing that we have to develop in our business to motivate and communicate well with our team. They've got to know that we care about them and we're there. So take the time as a leader to engage your employees, develop good communication strategies. It may not look like these four exactly. These are just four that I wanted to highlight today, but develop a communication strategy. That's what's actually most important. It's going to bring cohesion to your team. It's going to help them focus, and you're going to find them more engaged and more motivated as a team because you took the time to foster that communication throughout your organization. That kind of bleeds then into the idea of developing a winning culture. COVID's a great time for us as small business owners to put in place the systems that are going to create a winning culture for our team. Now, what do I mean? What's a culture in a small business? A culture is the combination of your organization's leadership, values, interactions, behaviors, and attitudes that contribute to the relational and emotional environment in your workplace. These factors are generally the unspoken and unwritten rules that help establish the kind of relationships that people have with one another in the workplace. And developing a positive culture, it's either going to make people think, wow, this is the greatest company I've ever worked for, and I never want to quit. It makes them want to come to work every day. Or if you have a bad culture, a unhealthy culture, it's the kind of thing that makes them dread coming to work. It makes them think, oh, I just want to get another job. And so culture's massively important in motivating our team. How we develop that culture and the kind of culture we develop is really important. You can kind of think of culture kind of on a scale. On one hand, a negative culture, on the other hand, a positive culture. And you can be kind of anywhere on that spectrum as you develop the team environment in your workplace. But you obviously want to be on that more positive side of the culture development of your organization. And going back to communication really is a foundational part of developing that culture. I think there are four other things that we can do, though, to develop a positive culture that our employees and our team members want to be a part of. First, I think we need to have a meaningful reward system. I worked for years in nonprofit. We did not have much money. And so I found out that there are a lot of ways we can reward employees when we might be in a financially strapped position. One is just thanking them, is just recognizing them. Put it in your calendar to have a time to recognize your employees. Maybe use a moment in your daily huddle to recognize employees that are doing great things. But give recognition for anyone that makes a positive contribution to your business or your organization. A part of that reward system is having opportunities for advancement. Let them grow in their opportunity in the company. That's a simple way you can have a reward system. Ultimately, pay is going to matter to employees. Anyone who is valuable to a company, uh, generally how you pay them is going to be reflective of how you see their value to your business. And so pay is part of that reward system as well. Um, if you're a nonprofit, maybe you are dealing with volunteers, the reward system is going to be much more in terms of the meaning that they see in their work and the sense of contribution that they have in giving that work to the company. And so just to recognize that and affirm that is hugely motivating to your team. Another aspect of developing a winning culture is to develop a collaborative work environment. People are just more motivated. Studies show this when they work together than when they're siloed and working all alone. It just lowers the stress, and it quite frankly lowers the intensity that creates that negative pressure in a workplace. So just creating opportunities for your people to collaborate. And again, going back to the communication, those things like daily huddles and those meetings are opportunities that you build into your calendar for collaboration. You might have other ways to do that depending on your business where people can work together. But going back to that communication, that's just a key way that you can build some of these, kind of bake them into your schedule. The third thing then is just results driven accountability. A huge thing that kills culture is when people are rewarded based on personality or where there are politics involved in the organization that we talked about earlier. Um, when rewards are given or consequences are given, if we ever have to do that, based on the goals of the company rather than on personality, that clarifies everything for your team. It removes the politics. And everyone knows what the ends are. Everyone's rewarded based on measured objectives, and there's accountability as it relates to the vision and mission and values of the organization. And that's a huge motivation in the end for your team, because um, nobody likes politics. Nobody likes that. Um, and I know of a story of an organization that I worked with when we lived in Kentucky, where there was a vice president who, one of the people that he had to report to him was not upholding the values of their company. And he engaged that employee and talked to that employee about what they were doing and documented everything. And the employee just wasn't changing. And so it eventually came to a place where they were going to have to terminate that employee. And along the whole way, the vice president was letting the other members of the leadership team, kept them up to date. This went on for several months. And they finally got to the place of having documented all of that and worked with the leadership, including the executive leader of that organization, and got to the place of letting him go. And the executive leader stepped in and said, "No, I'm not letting you do that," because that man was a personal friend of his. And in fact, he then made the vice president go and apologize for trying to hold that person accountable. And so you can imagine what that did to the culture. That absolutely destroyed trust in that organization. And in fact, that organization has a history of going through, uh, leaders who are undercut by the owner of the company. And it's just that kind of politics is just a recipe for a very toxic culture in an organization. Fourth, then, to develop that winning culture, you want an empowered workforce. And this is where you not only clarify their roles and responsibilities, but you give them the tools to do the job and the freedom to do the job. Nobody likes to be micromanaged. Micromanagement is a way to have an unhealthy culture. Instead, you empower your people, frame out what their job is and what the objectives are, and then give them the freedom to do that with some creativity so that they have ownership in the culture of the organization. So COVID, again, a super great time to put some of these systems in place, some of the processes in place that are going to allow you to cultivate that winning culture and maintain that winning culture going forward. And that's just a strategic opportunity for your business to become healthier, and it's going to be more profitable in the long run. Fifth, then, a great way to motivate your team is just learning how to lead as a coach rather than simply as a boss. Now, what do we mean by that? Maybe a simple way to understand this is just to kind of compare and contrast. A boss, they're always going to lead based on their authority, where a coach is going to lead out of influence. A boss is going to talk a lot. They're going to know all the answers. A coach is going to listen. They want to hear what their employees have to bring to the table and bring to the team. So a boss is going to tell, and a coach is going to ask. A boss might make a lot of assumptions because they always know the best. A coach is going to explore with their team. And the result of all of that is a boss is going to inspire fear in their employees or dread, or a coach inspires buy-in and enthusiasm. A boss is going to order, a coach is going to challenge. A boss will point a finger, a coach will take responsibility. Conversely, a boss will take credit, and a coach is going to give credit to their people. A boss tends to see people as they are. A coach is all about developing people and seeing people as they can be. And coaching is one of the real revolutions in leadership over the last 30 years. And there's now been a number of studies, and there's a lot of brain science that is backing this up, that your team is going to perform better. They're going to be more motivated, and you're generally going to lead a much healthier organization if you learn to coach your team and begin to lead as a coach. So the question becomes, how do you cultivate and develop those skills to coach your team? Well, there's a lot of coaching skills. Coaching is what I do for a living, but I try to boil it down today, and there are 5 key things I think you can focus on. The first is to ask curious questions of your team. Find out what's going on. Find out what they're thinking. And when I talk about curious questions, I'm specifically talking about asking open-ended questions, like, what's your best idea for this project? How might we do this better in the future? When would be the optimal time for us to deliver this to the customer? Don't ask questions that can be answered yes or no. Engage the employee, engage that team member with that open question that lets them contribute. When they feel like they're contributing to your organization, that motivation just skyrockets for how they feel about being involved with your company. You also want those curious questions to be non-judgmental. So if you ask a question like, why didn't you do that? Obviously what they are going to hear is they did it wrong. So you might ask the question, what might it look like if we really wanted to have the best result for our customer? And again, just get them to explore that with you. That's an open-ended, non-judgmental question. The second skill is then become a great listener. If you're going to ask that open-ended question, don't assume you know the answer. Just be present with your employees, care about your team members, listen to them, really engage them in that moment. Listening might be the most important skill in coaching because most of us talk a lot more than we listen. Well, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and That's probably because he wanted us to listen twice as much as he wants us to talk. Third, then, is once you have asked those questions and you really listen, explore, go deeper, explore together. And you do that by, again, using those open-ended questions. So maybe you want to explore, what are some additional possibilities here? What haven't we considered? What might be the obstacles we're going to run into? Just begin to flesh out various scenarios there. And explore possible solutions with them. Then third, ask them to design their own action steps. What might it look like if we're going to accomplish that goal? What steps do we need to take? And again, what you're doing is asking that open-ended question that lets them take ownership of the objectives you have as a leader for your company. They begin to own the action steps that are developed out of that. And they then are going to take responsibility for your outcomes. And when you have employees that are self-motivated to take ownership of those outcomes, you've created a winning culture in your business, and you've really set your company up to be more profitable. So learning how to coach is really an important skill there. And then last is you ask them to commit to those action steps, and you hold them accountable. And a simple way to do that is say, once they've fleshed out those action steps or the solution that they want to pursue, you say, are you willing to commit to that? Are you willing to be accountable for the outcome of that? Get them to own it. It's really important for them to own it. And then you hold them accountable. And you know what? Let your team fail sometimes. I remember at times when I was leading a staff, and we had about 8 or 9 people on our staff at that time, so not a huge staff. There are times you've got to let your people fail, knowing they're going to fail, simply because that's the opportunity for you to coach them. And you obviously don't want to let them fail in an area that's going to be a huge liability for your business, but it's okay to let them fail in some of the smaller things because that's how you develop them. And development's a part of motivating them. It's a part of encouraging them. It's a part of developing them to be better people. And when your team knows that you care about them and that you're for them, they will be for you, and they will be for your company. So learning how to coach is a huge opportunity for us to develop a more motivated team. And so again, all of these things kind of work together. Developing that picture of what your organization can look like begins to clarify your roles. That in turn allows you to communicate expectations to your team. You can begin to delegate things, get them off your plate. That empowers your team, that frees you up to lead. And when you're spending time leading rather than always just working in your business, you can be focused on developing that winning culture in your business and focused on coaching the people in your business to be more effective as participants, as employees. So there might be things during COVID that are certainly going to be a challenge for your business. I'm sure we've all run into that. But there is an opportunity for all of us to put in place those things that are going to motivate and grow our team and make us stronger as a business, and make our team stronger and develop a better culture and better dynamics inside of our team, so that as we move out of COVID, we're set up for greater success. I mentioned this last week, but I just want to say I'm relatively new to the area. I'm super honored that the Chamber has asked me to do these webinars, but I'm just looking to get to know people. And as a result of that, I'm happy to engage you and connect with you at no charge. I offer a free business assessment. I'll give you a free coaching session just to help you get started. It's my way of just trying to get to know people in the community. So There's my contact information on the screen, and please feel free to take advantage of that. There's no obligations and no strings attached in that offer. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, and let's see if we have any questions.
I have a question. Well, first of all, it dawns on me that coaching employees and running a business is kind of a lot like running a family and raising children.
Yes.
And the hardest things to do in both is turning over the reins, letting them take responsibility, watching, providing guidance, but stepping back. And I found that in management. I've also found that in child rearing. And it's not easy to do that because it's not efficient all the time to let somebody else do it when you can do it yourself. But it's so important to make that part of your role as a parent, as a boss.
Yeah, it's not efficient in the beginning, but again, to go back to that strategic versus tactical thing, if it's not efficient when my children were really little, and they couldn't do anything for themselves. But my goal as a parent is never for my kids to be at the place where they can't feed themselves and they can't make their bed and they can't tie their shoes. I want to raise them to be functional adults.
Right.
And the analogy in our business is we want to raise our employees from wherever they are to that place where they're that really high functioning and high motivated employee. And so we don't lead based on where they are today. We lead based on where we want to see them develop in the future. And you're right, that's inefficient in the short term. In the long term, it's actually much more efficient. We get better employees and we get more done in our company because we've done that. And it saves us huge money. I didn't look at the numbers before this webinar, but replacing an employee, you have an employee who maybe, who's demotivated and not engaged, they can cost your company, it's like 20% of their salary a year can be lost just because we've not done a good job of leading. And so in the end, it really does come down to very bottom line things that it affects our business.
Yeah, I agree. Does anybody else have questions or comments? And Tim, I do have another question. It's very generous of you to offer a free consultation with people as you get to know people in our region. How do you go about that? Do you send them a questionnaire to start with, or do you just start with a phone conversation?
It can start either way. I mean, typically it starts with a conversation in some context. I'm down, I live in Joplin, but I'm down in the Rogers Bentonville area generally a couple times a week. So I'll meet with people in person or we can do a Zoom call. The business assessment is something that's done online. So I just send a link. That's entirely confidential, by the way. That'll just be between you and me. And because I know when we talk about our business, sometimes there's things that, we might not feel great about. And trying to fix those things. This is never about shame. It's always about saying, okay, let's move you from where you are into where you want to be. And so that just kind of gives us a picture of where you are so that we can help move you forward. But again, it's entirely confidential and there's no judgment in any of that.
Okay, well, that's good to know. And everybody who's paying attention to this webinar, whether live or after the fact, as a Chamber of Commerce member, you always have the opportunity to create a coupon on our website. And so if you want to make your free business analysis a coupon, we can certainly work with you to get that on our website. Anybody who's got something they want to promote, a discount or something free, or, that kind of thing, we can get that on our website to share with other business owners.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, I do have it on the website as a coupon.
Great.
But you can just call me and I'll give it to you. But a shout out to the chamber. which I joined just a few months back. I really, the tools you're putting in place for small businesses are exceptional. Really, really neat to be a part of this chamber.
Well, we appreciate hearing that. Okay, well, thank you, Tim Snell. We want to thank you and your company, Business Builder Leadership Coaching, for providing this information geared toward helping businesses thrive and grow, especially now during our challenging times with COVID-19. Thanks also to Cox Communications and Black Hills Energy. And I want to thank everyone who tuned in for this webinar. Tim does have one more session coming up next week. You can find that and register it for it on our website next Tuesday. And again, the recorded version will be uploaded to YouTube in a day or so. I will send you the link for that. And I'm going to, again, make a plug and encourage you to shop local. Small businesses are really struggling right now, and we want to encourage you to shop in your hometown and shop with locally owned businesses whenever possible, and especially now during the holiday season. It can mean the difference in a business thriving and even surviving. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon at our C2C workshops.
Great job, Tim.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Good to have you.
See you next week, I hope.
Yep, I plan to be here. Thank
You
you.
gonna be at CRC tomorrow?
I won't be. Actually, I'm going to take the rest of the week off. So
Okay. We'll see you next week then.